Hi, I'm Vicky.
And I'm Lucy, and this is another episode of The Catch Up, where we talk about our creative businesses and alongside motherhood.
And in today's episode, we thought we would give you a little bit of a background to where we were in our businesses before babies, and then how that sort of progressed whilst being pregnant, and what we thought our maternity leave would look like.
Hmm.
So, Lucy, I have actually
Yeah.
got a question for you, which I should have asked ages ago. And that is, why are you actually called Little Old Goose?
Uh, because when I was traveling, I went traveling in Australia, and I just got the nickname Goose because Goosey Lucy. Um, I don't know where it came. Yeah, someone obviously just suddenly started calling me Goosey, Goose, whatever. And then when I came back from Australia, I set up a blog, a lifestyle blog, that I was quite good with it for the first year or so. And I think it was a Little Old Goose. It was a name that I kind of just came up with. And then the blog fizzled out, life carried on. And then when it came to setting up a little I'm going on a tangent, but setting up a little wedding hire business after our wedding, the name Little Old Goose came. I was like, I'm going to use the Little Old Goose, and then it's evolved and it's stuck with me, and it's one of those things that I don't really want to change. And then I did M&R about using my name, and I thought, no, I'm just gonna Little Old Goose is my little umbrella that Little Old Goose, and then I've got my little bits underneath it.
Yeah, perfect. That works really well. And
And
there's
it's
pros and
it's a
cons.
bit different to like Lucy Davies calligraphy or
Yeah,
that kind of
definitely.
thing. I can use it
For
for
a blog,
lots
a
of
lifestyle
a
blog,
a
should
blog
you wish
or
to go back to that.
you never know. You
You
never
never
know.
know. You
So
never know.
yeah, I yeah, that's the short version.
Ah, okay. So
Yeah.
where were you in that then? Obviously, just before you found out you're pregnant with Jasper.
Where was I? So pretty much to the day 2 years ago, we were my husband and I, Harry and I, had a tea room. We ran a tea room on Hayling Island. We had that for 3 years, and we left the tea room because it was just our time to leave. Harry wanted to get into the wine industry. He'd been wanting to do that for quite a while, and an opportunity came up. So he took the job, and we said, "Look, I didn't want to carry on the tea room. It's a massive stress." I always used to laugh when people used to say, "Oh, I'd love a little tea room. No stress." It sounds like it's so stressful. So yeah, we left the tea room, and I could have gone and got a job. I did M&R about kind of finding some full-time work or part-time work, but alongside the tea room, I'd been teaching my workshops and doing chalkboards for
Mm.
weddings and bars, restaurants and things.
So I'm
It,
sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. So you started it as a hobby, didn't you? And
yeah, so
then
it started as a
yeah,
hobby, and
yeah,
then started as a hobby. Then it was like a little side hustle alongside the tea room. Then the workshops started getting really popular. So I was
yeah.
doing them in the evenings, or taking days off from the tea room to go and
Because
do work.
actually, that is when we first met. Because I did
That
one of your
is, yeah,
workshops, and I remember chatting to you about your cafe when
yeah,
you did that workshop. So you must have still had the cafe at that
yeah. We
point.
did, we
Yeah,
definitely did, yeah. So it must have been, I think, maybe halfway through our time at the tea room, the workshops started, getting really popular. I did a few at the tea room, which was great,
yeah.
but hard work trying to put two heads on. I had, cafe manager head on and uh, calligraphy head
Calligrapher
on.
head. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we left the tea room, and so I was just like, do you know what? This is the perfect opportunity to try and take this business full time, because I've been given this chance, and if it doesn't work out full time, then I can go and get some part time work somewhere. There's nothing stopping
Yeah.
me. But it was just that it made me think, well, Harry's going into this full time wine industry job. We've got some money coming in, give it a go. So I kind of threw myself into, like, let's go back, wedding industry, doing
Yeah.
chalkboards for weddings, calligraphy for weddings, going to local bars, restaurants, writing all their chalkboards, pitching here, there and everywhere, teaching workshops. And then that was April we left the tea room, and then I found out I was pregnant in the July. So, and
April, May, June, July.
it,
Woohoo,
so
3 months.
not, yeah, but not to go into too much detail, but we have been trying for 3 years. So I'm a firm believer that stress of the cafe, you know, put behind us, and
you've relaxed, chilled out. They do say that, don't they? Once you've relaxed.
So then we were expecting, and so I was like, right, well, I've got all these jobs on, and I've got to, you know, crack on with them. But it was a bit of a worry, because I thought, well, how much do I push myself with this business? Because, you know, eventually I'm not going to be able to physically do things, because I'm going to be
like
a bump, and also, you know, then going on maternity leave. So it was a bit of a, what should we do? So I just went with it. I just kind of played it by ear, did some workshops.
Took the leap.
Yeah, I did. I took that leap, which was terrifying, but also it was one of those things I was like, I've got to.
Your choices are this or this,
and
you know what? Hey, you've got to go for it, haven't you? If you knew you had those jobs lined up, then actually you've just you're not going to ever not do those jobs, because you wouldn't have let any clients down. So
no, exactly. And I knew myself. I just thought, you know what? I know myself. I know my body. I know when it will be time to stop. And I just played it by ear, and it kind of naturally came to an end, because I was due in March. The end of March. I had him 2 weeks late, but so April. But I was due at the end of March. I did my last workshop in the January. And that was definitely the right time, because I was, I mean, I just remember trying to do this workshop and like lean in to people. And when you're pregnant as well, and you're heavily pregnant, you are aware that you're big, but you're still not fully aware of how far your bump
your brain
up.
hasn't necessarily comprehended how your shapes changed totally.
So, and especially at workshops, when it just comes second nature to me, and I'm like pottering around, you know, like chatting to people and going, like squeezing past people, and you just forget. I was like, oh my god, I'm sure I bumped people. I'm so sorry. The baby's just nudged.
So that was January. So you did your last workshop in January.
January. So that was January. And then it just naturally came, I think, because of Christmas. No one really over Christmas anyway, so that kind of was quite. I just let it slowly fizzle out, and then
So did you kind of, at that stage, were you sort of thinking ahead to plan for like pregnant? Sorry, you were pregnant, but the plan for then having the baby. So if you'd let the workshop sort of fizzle out for January, between like February and March, did you kind of push anything else in your business to sort of prep for after baby arrival? Who now is?
I did one thing because, I did one thing because I was going on statutory maternity, so you can't work during maternity. You get 10 keep in touch
kit days. So
I was like, right, I really want to use those wisely, because
of course
they're really strict about it as well with kit days. Like, you know, technically sending in one email is a kit day, and you're like,
if you've done work,
I could send 30 emails in one day if I was all, you know, if I wanted to. But like, it's mad how the system works. It really was frustrating, because you think, well, so I made those days work for me, but before I had Jasper, I had one workshop lined up, which I'd set up with Alice Benham, who you follow on Instagram as well.
Yes.
So she is a digital marketing coach, and
she's just a bit of a business guru.
She is, and like young, and she's just on it. She's really on it. She's a really good one to follow, and she set up a retreat. We got chatting actually, because she's got a podcast, and I just replied to one of her Instagram stories about the podcast. I think I just messaged saying I really found that episode really interesting. I can't remember who she was talking to. Anyway, so she got back in touch, and she said, look, I'm running a retreat in spring 2019. This was in 2018. She was talking to me when I was pregnant. She said, in spring 2019, I'm doing this retreat in Somerset. Would you be up for teaching a brush lettering workshop at the retreat? And I was like, absolutely, that's great. And this is before I knew it was in spring. I said, oh, when's it going to be? And she said, spring 2019. I said, okay, well, I am expecting a baby in spring, so can we be a bit more specific?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, we're looking at May, like beginning of May. And I was thinking, right, well, okay, so
he'll be born in March. Forget that he'll just be a few weeks
yeah,
late.
kind of completely naive first time pregnancy. I was like, well, he's due on the 22nd of March, so he'll be born on time. He'll be born probably early, actually. This is what I told myself all pregnancy. He'll be early. I just got this feeling. and so he'll be on time, and then that'll be fine. So then by May, beginning of May, I'll be fine, and I'll drive to Somerset. Harry can come with me and look after Jess, the baby, because we didn't know what we were having at the time, look after the baby, and it'll all be absolutely fine. So we booked it in, all sorted. Jasper due date came around and no baby. I was like, well, I was wrong. And then another week fell, no baby, and then we had to be induced, and so he was really late, and complications in birth, and I ended up having surgery, like C-section, and couldn't drive for 6 weeks. So all of a sudden, all these plans, I was like, what am I going to do about this workshop? I'm still got to
Somerset.
How am I going to get to Somerset? Anyway, my mum, superhero, she drove all the way down from Leicester down to me in Portsmouth, then drove us to Somerset. We did see my grandmother, which was lovely.
Oh, mums rock. High five, she's mums.
Legend. Yeah. And we went and did this work. We went to this retreat, and I taught the workshop whilst my mum looked after Jasper. So that was like,
and so that was a big wake up call. To breastfeed.
No, not to begin with. He was fine. He was asleep, and I did hear, it was this beautiful house, this retreat, and she was on the other side of like the big room, and I did hear him kind of whinging a bit, and I was like checked in, and she was changing a nappy. She was like, it's fine. And then I heard him getting really whingy, and I was like, he needs to be fed. And so about it now, I just think, how on earth did I do that? I mean, I'm quite like, take my hat off to myself, real proud moment, because I was feeding him, like standing, breastfeeding him for like 10 minutes or so, whilst talking about brush lettering to the group. The loveliest group. They were so much fun.
Well done, you, Lucy.
But he was 4 weeks old.
Oh, and gosh.
I don't know. Now looking back, I think, bloody hell, like, how did I do that? But anyway,
you just do, don't you?
I think I was still running on some sort of like adrenaline or something. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, so that was the one job that I had lined up in my maternity leave, and then I did have some workshops a few months later, but that was a real wake-up call for me. I think that made me go, right, I need to just take some. I did that, and it was brilliant, and I'm grateful I did it, and whatever, but it did make me kind of think, I need to just, I'm not going to get this time again. Do you know, why am I stressing? I'm going to spend some time with the baby and things.
Oh, it's such an important so
yeah, you don't get that time back. So as I loved doing it, like I said, but yeah, I think I was I was a bit bonkers to do it, but
you don't know any different, and you'd planned it before you had the baby, so what?
No, you just have to crack on. You just think, exactly. I've got to do it.
Yeah.
So, what about you then? So where were you at before?
So I'd always kind of done a textile degree, and then from that I'd always done art workshops in different places. So I lived in Brighton for a while and did kind of art workshops with other people, but it was always revolved around textiles and printing. And then, like you, I was in Australia, been traveling, and I'd started to do some kind of like, I had a friend who was a graphic designer, and I was like, I think I quite like this. So I started to do some graphic design work, and did that when I came back to the UK. But was never really my forte. I loved it, and it was really good for me to learn the software, so Illustrator predominantly and Photoshop. But I would always look at other examples of like graphic design work and be like, that's amazing. And I just just didn't have that kind of skill set maybe.
Mm.
Anyway, so I was sort of in a bit of a pause, and I was working kind of like in like a finance department actually. And I mean, I really don't do numbers, so I don't really know how that happened, but
I've been there as well,
I
done that.
was. And but it was really good. It was a certain sort of, so I was sort of contracted, which gave me a lot of flexibility. So within that, I would come home from work, and I think the fact that I was doing something that my brain, like during the day, was just zero creativity at all, meant that then when I got home, I was like fully ready to function in like creative mode. Anyway, so I was doing that, and because I then did have like the hours, like kind of early evening, in the evening, didn't have a baby at that point, I did a Make It in Design course. I don't know if you've heard of them, but
No.
it's a surface pattern designer that runs it, Rachel Taylor, and she's been in the industry for ages. Anyway, so they've put out, they do loads now, but when I started, they did like a series of courses for pattern design, and all of a sudden, just all of my kind of life experience clicked, because it involved textiles, it involved like the digital element of the design work, which I really liked, and it was making patterns, which I had always just done so naturally. So for me, that was quite a like aha moment. So I did those courses, and then I'd started to kind of get a couple of freelance clients, and it was all still tied in with doing like graphic design kind of freelance work as well.
Okay.
And then so then part of that, so I think, yeah, I just started getting some clients when before I was pregnant. Yeah, that was it. Oh no, so through Make It in Design, I won a couple of design competitions, and then there was another competition that I won. So I'd sort of started to build up a bit of a portfolio, and then through that, obviously a bit more experience. I got some private clients, which was really good. And I just started teaching at the uni as well. So at that point, I think I might, no. Okay, so I just started doing like a day a week at the uni. I was covering somebody else's hours that's in there, but in the textile department, fashion and textile department. And then I found out I was pregnant. And it was at that point, my kind of like finance, my job hours, I was kind of dropping. Plus,
was that before anyway? You were kind of planning to do that?
There was an overlap. I was full-time there, but I started early, so finished early. And because I was contracted, I had quite a lot of flexibility. So long as I made the hours up, so with the uni, I booked those days off of my like contract job, so I could do the work in the uni. So I had them booked off as kind of holiday from my first job. So I was already sort of dropping down the hours from finance kind of role that I was doing, but building up kind of with the design stuff at the uni. And then because I did have that flexibility, I then did my freelance design work in the evenings, like late afternoon, or, early evening, kind of late evening sometimes, time. I've forgotten where I was. Yeah, so just started work at the uni. I was in flow and I can't remember what I was going to say. But anyway, yeah, so I guess it just gave me a bit of confidence. So then knowing, that was it. So because I had then started to drop down those hours, and then I knew that I would be going on maternity in, approximately 9 months' time, I found it suddenly gave me quite a sharp focus. Like I'd already kind of had an Etsy shop where I'd designed and like produced my own products on there. And I'd already sort of trialed a few things that then I just didn't have a complete love for it, like there were elements of it that I was just like, I was finding it a bit of a chore, like all the like SEO for Etsy and stuff like that. And I just was like, you know what, this is so time consuming and it's not making me enough money.
No.
And so getting pregnant and knowing that sorry, say that again.
Yeah, you just sometimes you just think, what is the point? Why am I, is it worth doing it? Like that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yes,
so I was at that point where I knew I was going to be going on maternity, and I wanted to take that opportunity. So I was focusing on building up my freelance clients, and doing that work, and then trying to really combine like my textile work as well. And then I was approached by a design studio to say, can you do some designs for us? This was it would have been late October, no, it was early November they approached me. Felix was, this is like 9 months later, Felix was due like the following week. And so I had to go back to them, and I'd had a couple of I just finished doing quite a big collection for a client, MMA Stitching. She makes clothes and curtains and just does all sorts of like beautiful things with fabric. So I just finished doing a collection for her, and she's lovely. She's got 2 boys of her own, and I said to her at the time, I was like, look, I am going to get this finished, but I am about to have a baby, so fingers crossed. But so we'd done that, and then that for me, that was like, right, that's it, that's the last job. Then I got approached by the studio, and I basically had to turn it down, and I had to just say, look, I'm pregnant, I'm 9 months pregnant. I'll come back to work, I can do work in January again. Kind of glad that they didn't get back to me in the end, because actually the reality of that would just,
because he was born in November, wasn't he? So
28th of November. So my
December,
due date,
so January would have been quite tight.
It would have been. It would have been, because he was late as well. So Felix was 2 weeks, about roughly 2 weeks late. I didn't actually go 2 weeks, but he was late. So then that's where I was. And then so I was so determined, like I felt so frustrated in a way that I'd had to turn this work down, even though I knew I had to do it. But I just felt like I'd worked so hard to kind of build up this bit of momentum, and I was sort of just getting my foot in the door in a few places. And then obviously
it was on hold.
And then it's on hold. So I was so determined going into maternity that nothing would change, and that I would maintain the momentum I had with my business, like the clients that I was working with.
And did it?
Well, I mean, my perception of what was going to happen on maternity was different from the reality. But I then so I think I then actually started work. So the work at the uni, I actually went back there, I believe it was February. And it was a day a week, and it wasn't a full day. It wasn't like 9 till 5. I think it was 10 till 3 that I was doing. And I mean, and I love the job. I'm still there now, and I absolutely love going in. The staff that I work with are amazing. The students are fantastic. However, and I just said yes because I knew that I needed that part of me, I think. But my gosh, that hit me hard, I have to confess. Going back
leaving Felix and
do you know what, the leaving him wasn't so bad. He was with my mum. I knew I'd been pumping like crazy. We had like a stockpile of milk in the freezer because I knew that I was going to be doing it. Like I had my pump schedule, and it was like 9 o'clock every night. And so I had like a stockpile of milk that mum could use. But for me, it was just the lack of sleep, Lucy. Like Felix fed for hours, and oh my god, for hours. And in February he was still doing long feeds. Like he did have a tongue tie when he was first born, and that I think has contributed to his lengthy feeds, because I don't think he could necessarily use his tongue efficiently to get as much milk out. So then we were just there for a very, very, very long time. And when I kind of chat about it, I'm sure it's quite normal for a lot of people. I'm sure it's like not anything that is unusual at all. But then I had a friend that was like the other end of the scale, and she was like, how long do you feed for? and she was like, her baby, she was like, well, 15, 20 minutes
Yeah,
tops. And I was
that
like,
was like me.
what? No way. You just did loads of little feeds, did you? Well, I say little,
No,
but 20
no,
minutes is
not
still
little
like a
feet.
reasonable.
No, he would just stop. Like he was a very efficient feeder. Like I still feed do a couple of feeds now, but yeah, he gets what he like.
Straight
But
away.
again, I thought that was normal to everyone. And then I remember we did talk about this on our walk. I remember maybe yeah, it must have been on our walks when you said.
Been,
I was thinking, wow, like that's crazy.
I
Because apart from the cluster feeding at the beginning, like when you just first have them and they're cluster feeding, oh my
he
god,
just fed and fed and fed, and also he's never been a chubby child. Like,
no.
I think genetically, I mean, Angus and myself, neither of
You're
us,
both tall as well.
we're both tall. Yeah, exactly. And so Felix just fed, and so even after that first month, like I guess a lot of cluster feeding in that first month slows down a bit in the second month, maybe, I don't know, Felix never slowed down. I was still watching 2 movies at least a night during the night,
insane.
because that's how
normal.
long he was feeding for. Yeah. And now I remember liking it too. Like, it's like I've done the flight from the UK to Australia and back again
every night,
every single night, like, but when you're on a long haul flight and all the movies just all kind of like blur into one, like, I just honestly,
but you don't have someone coming along giving you a hot towel or like an ice lolly or anything like that,
not
or
at 3 a.m. Angus was sound asleep.
Yeah, it's just like just sat there with your own thoughts,
watching the iPad.
Watching the iPad. Oh, I didn't. Yeah, like it's crazy how
different experiences though. But again, I didn't know any different, so that's what I did. And so I also thought that would stop. So when I said I'll go back, that's fine. And because it was only like a few hours and it was only kind of like a day, kind of a week, but then with big breaks in between for like Easter holidays, etc. I did kind of get that breather, but I have to say it was really hard. I didn't realize how hard it was going to be, but it also was absolutely the best thing for me. It just, I kind of refound myself, I think, during that time. Like, again, having Felix and then having such a minimal amount of time, like, to work on my business. What I did do was focused. Like, there was no faffing about with maybe I like this, maybe I like that, or maybe I'll do this. It was like, right, done.
Right, let's crack on.
So so that's that's kind of my side of it, really. Where I was.
Gosh, how different. Do you know what? It just shows you how different it is for everybody. Like, because I don't know, literally it is different for everybody. And I know there's mums like us that, creative and running the business. There are, like, I'm sure we mentioned, did we speak in the first episode, when there's like mums that are just off because they're on maternity leave from one job, and that's, they don't have to think about that work.
That extra pressure they've got.
Yeah, that extra pressure.
Well, I found it an extra pressure. They probably have other extra pressures or pressures that they put upon themselves.
Oh, definitely. I think, you do as a mum, don't you? You kind of, you put your pressure on yourself about silly little things.
Do you find
that?
So for me to then kind of function, I let other things go. So those pressures that maybe I would have put on myself, like making the house tidy and making it look nice and food ready and stuff.
The house.
No way.
It's just, you have to, I think it is about compromise and I think when those early days when people want to come and visit, we were really strict, because having experience, seeing friends who had babies a couple of years before or whatever, and seeing people, just constant stream of visitors for those first 2-3 weeks or whatever it is, and I was like, I don't want that. And so but having that pressure of people, when you do let people in, having that pressure of thinking, right, the house is an absolute tip. And then actually just thinking, they're not here to see the house, they're here to see the baby, and that kind of thing. So that's when that kind of the relaxation of the house comes in, like started for me. I was just like, okay,
Oh
I
God, I
can't
feel
do
like
everything. I
I was
literally,
just like,
I was just, yeah, I mean,
I
I don't think
basically
it's
just
a
said,
mirror for
no
a
one's
while.
coming in unless they're being helpful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Can I make, yeah, if they make, as long as they make me a cup of tea or bring me something nice to
Yeah.
eat, always
Yes,
food,
yes.
always.
Food, yeah.
Because
God.
breastfeeding, and you like, food is life, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
literally,
I just
I've
ate.
never known. No one told me how hungry I would be
Or
through,
thirsty.
and
I was
thirst. Yeah,
so
the thirst as
thirsty.
well. Yeah, constant. It was
I just
like,
remember
yeah,
having this jug of water next to me, and like
mm,
Angus would like go out the room, and he'd come
yeah.
back literally maybe 5 minutes later, and I'd have drunk it. And
Be like,
I'm actually
refill.
really rubbish. Yeah, yeah, sir.
Yeah,
But I'm
I'm
rubbish
terrible
at
at drinking.
like drinking like water in the
Mm,
day generally, but I literally just could not. I was just like, yeah.
yeah,
Anyway,
parched. Yeah, there's so many different things that no one tells you about, and there's there's an Instagram account called A Mother Place, and she's written a book actually called Nobody Tells You, and there's like hundreds of mums or loads of mums that have contributed to it, saying nobody tells you that XYZ. And actually I just think that is brilliant, and I wish
that
that book had
sounds
been
really
around,
good.
because yeah, no one tells you that how
Oh, I
thirsty
might have
you're
to
going to
put that on a
be.
list to buy somebody who's
I
going to have
think,
a
yeah,
baby for the first time.
that's
Definitely.
definitely one to buy. But yeah, and I just think but that, surely there must be, I don't know because I haven't read it, but there must be a section, or I'm hoping, a section on like mums that have got a business that need to keep it going, or they want to keep going, through that maternity leave, because
I just, for me, I think
this,
you have to work as a team.
yeah, talk and teamwork.
Yeah, because Angus is like, he is an amazing support to me,
Mm,
but particularly in those kind of, well, I say early months, but continuously, it's never
yeah.
stopped. But I mean, I needed him so much in those early months just to, well, I mean, I was blooming walking zombie. I was
Yeah, you
always the
just
mum that turned up at the baby groups. Like with, I remember saying at one of the baby groups to somebody, I was like, I really must brush my hair tomorrow. Like I clocked that I hadn't done it
not
for a
today.
few days, but today it was just not going to happen. I was
Oh
like,
my
tomorrow
gosh.
is the day that I have to brush my hair. Oh goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. There's just those days when you're like, I don't know the last time I brushed my hair, or when did I last wash my hair? And then someone will say that classic line, like, "Oh, your hair looks really nicely." So I'm like, "Thanks,
I've
it's
cleaned it.
clean.
Yes.
It's clean."
Yeah.
Yeah. But and dry shampoo, always a winner.
Always the winner.
But yeah, like those early days as well. Yeah, Harry. I remember Harry. I mean, I just couldn't do anything, and I couldn't drive. Couldn't, you know. I wasn't allowed to. I was saying, you're not allowed to lift anything heavier than a kettle. It's like,
Which
what?
your baby is.
My baby is like 4 times the weight of the kettle. Like, have you seen how big he was when he was born?
How
And
big was
things
he when
like
he was born?
9'5",
Oh, that's a good size.
chunky monkey. Well, he wasn't chunky though. He wasn't like rolls of, like some babies like all.
Yeah.
He wasn't rolls. He was quite well proportioned, but he was
Solid.
sort of like, yeah. So that, and yeah, I just still keep thinking about that workshop that I did now. I keep thinking about it. You think, oh wow, silly Billy. But yeah,
But no, you weren't silly. And hey,
silly. No, it
like,
wasn't silly. It was just,
hats
yeah,
off to you, Lucy. That's,
amazing.
God, do you know what? That's just reminded me. So yeah, so when I was at the uni on those
Mm.
days, I was having to run to the blooming disabled loo to pump, like
I was going to say, did
in
you pump
between
like when you were
sessions.
like
Yeah, I
leaking?
mean, it was at the uni. They must have had a designated place, but
Yeah.
I didn't have time. Like my lunch break
No.
was an hour or 50 minutes or something, an hour. But then I always kind of would stay chatting to students way too long. So then I'd give myself like 30 minutes. So I'd be like trying to eat my blooming sandwich or whatever it is and pump with the other
Mm.
hand, which is blooming difficult. You need 2 hands to do it
Yeah.
anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Crazy. The things you do,
oh
honestly.
yeah,
Yeah.
but you know what? I loved it, and it I found, like, after having Felix, like, I found that, like, my confidence really dipped, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about you, but I just felt so kind of like my self-confidence, I think, and but
Oh
in
yeah,
terms of
definitely.
everything, like what I was wearing, like even
Yeah.
things that I would be saying to people, like new people, I think, oh my God, did I say that right? Did I come across right? Did I sound rude? Like,
Does it sound
yeah,
like
like,
me? Have I annoyed them? Have I, yeah,
yeah,
have
like,
I put,
and but
have I,
down to like
yeah.
every decision that I was making, like, am I making the right decision? And it, oh, should we have pasta or rice tonight? Something as simple as that. But
Oh.
I was probably, the lack of sleep contributed to
Mm.
that significantly. But yeah, but just down to everything. So for me, having that kind of thing that I did though for those few hours
For just you, you know,
for
it's
just me,
just you.
I just, yeah, it was an absolute lifesaver. An
Yeah.
absolute lifesaver.
See, I kind of, yeah, I think I didn't have anything like that for a while, and when I did go back and do some workshops, you know, locally, I only did a couple, but it actually, yeah, I was like, for 2.5, 3 hours maximum, you know, after 3 hours, as a, you
Yeah.
know, breastfeeding mum, you're like, I've got to go home.
Yeah.
Got to go right now.
Right now.
Yeah, like need to go now. But yeah, like for those few hours, just doing what I love, you know,
You kind of
creative and
root
doing
yourself again, don't you? I think.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
It was
I never
lovely.
got before. I think I'd had a conversation with my sister, and she's had two children, and she was sort of reassessing her life, I guess, in terms of
Mm.
work, her priorities, what she wanted, blah blah blah. And she was saying, she said to me, like, I'm at the stage now, Vicky, where I need to find me again. And I was thinking, what are you
Mm.
talking about?
Yeah,
That would never
yeah.
happen to me.
No, I know what I'm doing, and I know what I want to do, and yeah,
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden you've just got this.
yeah. You just,
It's really hard. I don't know. Do you feel a bit more like you now, or do
yeah,
you?
definitely,
Yeah,
definitely. But because I've got a clear focus, I know what I want to achieve. I feel like I've got my balance right with the time that I spend with Felix and then getting, like, doing my work.
mm,
Okay, it's not 100% perfect, and you know, there's always room for improvement, but the time that I spend with him is like quality time. I make sure, you
yeah,
know, we play, engage, and do whatever. So I feel like if I designate those times to do that, I don't feel so guilty then if he's occupied on the floor and I'm trying to quickly do some artwork to get
mm,
some like textures or whatever. And also I kind of think, you know what, like when he's a bit older and can join in with that, he can join in with me. And I think it's
yeah,
good for him to see me doing stuff like that, even though,
yeah,
especially at the moment in lockdown, if he's happy and I'm trying to answer some emails or do some stuff, I'm like, I do feel really guilty. I
oh
haven't
yeah.
actually said that to anyone, but I do. You,
Oh,
I'm sure you
I
must do.
feel
Yeah,
so guilty, so guilty. The mum guilt, like yeah, I feel guilty about everything. Like I genuinely, like if I'm doing, I think I'm obviously, yeah, I think maybe there's a few months. I feel like you kind of, when I talk to you, I come like, okay, I'll get there soon because you're a few months ahead of me. Like
yeah,
because Felix is older, so
yeah.
I feel like I'm still not fully there. Like I'm just I feel like I'm
He needs a
literally
bit.
juggling
Jasper needs
everything.
more attention
He
at the
needs more
moment. Yeah,
attention.
yeah, yeah,
He's not, he's crawling and standing, but he's not walking, so there's that little bit in the middle. He's
yeah,
really, there's certain parts that he's going through at the moment that is just quite, he needs me
yeah,
constantly.
yeah.
I
You
get
know
like
what?
the odd 5 minutes where he's entertaining himself and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, but then that's what I
But
was going to
it's
say.
literally like 5 minutes.
I think you said that the other day when we were chatting.
Yeah,
But that's the start of it. Like that's the
yeah,
start, and then that time kind of increases and increases, and then you're like,
yeah,
oh, I am able to do the food prep, and he's actually fine, and I'm
yeah,
not having to do it one-handed. But then the other
yeah.
thing I was just going to say to you that's now gone out of my mind. Oh, why do I do that? I don't know. It's gone. It'll come back in a minute.
It's all right, it's
But it
dopamine.
was it was going to be why it was going to be wise, hopeful words for you. That was all. But
Oh, well, what you were just saying about having that, you know, you've got that time where you have those blocks of time where you know you're either working or you're having with Felix. And
yeah,
that's where I feel like when I'm doing my work, I'm doing my work, but I'm thinking, I know I'm not not going to stop thinking about Jasper, but
yeah,
you know what I mean? I'm still always think the thing. So when I'm with him and I'm playing, I'm having a lovely time. Don't get me wrong, we have great, we play and do lots of, as much as we can do in lockdown. But I'm still thinking, I could be doing, I need to do this,
tick, tick,
I need
tick,
to do that,
yeah.
and like and I don't know whether that goes, or like, I don't know. I feel like you've got really good time management.
I do. I
Because
do.
his naps are he's only on one nap now, isn't he? So
Yeah, he
he's
is.
Felix.
Yeah.
So you've got your kind of day down, I think. That's how I see
Yes,
it.
and actually, maybe we should save this for another episode, like how maternity
Yeah.
actually planned out. But
Yeah.
the naps, but yeah,
Yeah.
that is a key factor for me, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is, so many people, when Felix was crawling, said to me, "Oh, you wait till he's walking." From my perspective, I think it's so much easier when he's walking, because when he was
Yeah.
crawling, he needed more attention and he could already stand up and reach everything. But when
Oh, he just yeah.
yeah, so it was kind of
Yeah.
worse for me. Once he started walking, it was again like a switch, like it suddenly was so much easier, because also he was
I feel that
burning so much more energy off. He could go outside, we could do more interesting things, and like the hours like seemed so much more full in the day, rather than kind of me trying to be as entertaining as possible with 3 different toys in the house. Well,
yeah.
obviously more than
That's where I think I'm struggling with, like, because he can't walk. When we go in the garden, I have to be, he can only crawl, and I don't want him to go on certain parts of the garden where the dog goes, and this, that, and the other, and he wants to explore everything, put everything in his mouth, and like, I feel like when he can walk, and I know I probably will, some people say just you wait till they're walking, but actually I do feel like he will burn more energy. I think his sleep
I found it so much easier when he was walking, definitely.
I think his sleep will get better because he's wearing himself out,
hopefully.
And and hopefully, lockdown won't last forever, because again, like, childcare as well, because Harry's still going to work, having to travel to work. So I haven't got him at home. So although he obviously was working from home, I know Angus is working from home, but I'm like, it's just me and Jasper throughout the day. And trying to fit so much into like short spaces of time, and having not knowing that I can't send him off to his nanny's house for like an afternoon,
so you can get stuff
so
done.
I can crack on.
It's really hard.
Or I was talking to my mum yesterday. She lives up in Leicestershire, and she was saying, "Oh, because I've had quite a few little jobs on this week, and I'm trying to get them all done." And Mum said, "Oh, Lucy, if it wasn't lockdown, I would just come down on my days off and come and help you. I would." And I was like, "Oh, don't." I came on FaceTime thinking,
I miss my mum.
Like, I really miss my mum, but like thinking, oh, just life just needs to, there's lots to look forward to, and think that. I think that's half of it as well. The strain of like the lockdown and not having that normality, and you're like maybe Felix going to your mum's for a day usually and stuff. So
Does it feel like normal now to you though, this scenario, or not? It kind of does to me. It sort of does to me, but then I have moments that where I completely forget, and I'm like trying to walk past somebody on the street and I'm thinking, why are they being weird? I'm like, oh yes, they're trying to avoid me.
And then I have moments where I haven't been out of the house for a couple of days, and we just went out earlier, just down to the co-op, and I found myself I talk out loud to myself a lot. I don't know whether you do when you're
all the time.
I'm constantly talking to Jasper, like, look at the trees, can you hear the birds? Oh, can you see that other doggy? This, that, and the other. So I'm talking to him, and probably I do forget, if I'm on my own, I forget that he's not there, and I still talk to myself. Like in the supermarket. But like, I just noticed there's loads of people out today, and I actually said out loud saying, there's just so many people everywhere. And I was in the co-op, and I did get a look from someone, but I was like, we're meant to be social distancing. I'm abiding by the rules, like, I'm a big rule, like, don't break the rules, and there's other people, and I found myself getting really frustrated. So then I think, why do I go outside? Because I just get annoyed with people.
Oh my gosh, I got so annoyed with a group of like young people hanging around on the street pavement on the corner the other day.
Yeah.
I just had to cross the road and avoid them. But yeah, I know.
Yeah, you
So
just
what's
think
your
maybe
what
that's come with motherhood as well.
I think so, yeah, definitely. What's your high five for the week?
High five for the week. I have. So I think I mentioned in the first episode about my online workshops, and I was
Yes.
going to get them done. I have filmed. She says, unless I rewatch them and think, oh gosh, I filmed all the videos now. So yeah, I've just got to edit them, and I'm on a bit of a time. Yeah, so tonight's going to be editing. But yeah, I got them all filmed, so I'm really pleased.
Well
with that.
done. And your
I would say, oh gosh, I don't know. Like last night, it's not like a big face plant, but I know I stayed up too late last night doing some work, and then I got really carried away because I'd got some music on my laptop while I was doing some work, and then I got really into the music that I was listening to, and I was like, because I was on my iTunes on my laptop, which I don't use anymore. I usually use Spotify, but I got all this music that I'd bought years ago on iTunes, and I suddenly just started going through these albums, and I'd got my headphones in, and you know, when you're just like
in the zone.
I was just having a really good time,
having a little with party with your headphones into yourself.
I was in the dining room downstairs, which is actually below Desper's bedroom. So obviously I was having to be quiet, but I was having like this little, you know, like just do this and tapping away. And but I kept looking at the time, and I was like, this is way past my bedtime, and I'm going to really regret it today. And I woke up this morning like, and I really felt groggy this afternoon, you know, like that mid-afternoon slump. So yeah, that was a bit of a.
That's why you need to get your walk outside.
Yeah, that's why I went out. I was like, I've got to get out, get some fresh air. But yeah, that's not the greatest face plant, but sometimes when the mood takes you to do some work, you know,
you do have to take it. I've got a face plant for you for this week. It's not. So I was making banana bread, and I've got a great recipe which I've done loads and loads and loads, mixed it all up, put it in the oven, and I was like, yes, we've done this. I think it was due. That was it. I got it in the oven before 9 a.m. So then Felix and I could leave the house. We'd go for a walk. Angus was home, so he could turn it off. We could come back, have nice coffee and banana bread. Anyway, as I left the house, I thought, it doesn't smell quite right. I'll just go and check. And I somehow managed to set the oven to defrost mode. So it I know it's this weird setting. It's kind of a newish oven. It's an old oven, but it came from my mum's, and it's a new oven for us. So I'm not like 100% familiar with it, but I just turned the dial one too many. So it's obviously like it's something where you can kind of warm something through really slowly. So I put it on that. Yeah. So then it sort of cooked the top, but it was obviously really runny. So then I had to kind of reset the timer. So that was my face plant.
Oh,
my high five.
So you didn't get a lovely banana-y smell when you came in?
It actually didn't turn out too badly, considering I then also left Angus in charge of turning it off and taking it out of the oven. I got home and it was in the oven, although the oven was off. So that was my second of the week. But it actually...
Any high fives?
High fives. My high fives. I've got my mojo back. That's what I'm going to say.
Good.
My design, motivation. Like it dropped quite dramatically during lockdown, but I've tried to kind of just do loads of other creative things. So I've done a bit of collage. I've done a bit of kind of watercolor kind of.
I've been seeing your like little paintings and things.
Yeah, and I'm not really a painter. I love doing like the textures and stuff and playing around with that. So I kind of just sort of tried to kind of push myself a little bit into different ways, and then last couple of days I've been back on the computer working on a couple of new things that I'm quite excited about. But yeah, they're not ready.
That's really good.
They're not ready for viewing yet. But yeah, so that's my high five. I've got my motivation back.
That's really good.
So
awesome.
Yeah. Anyway,
cool. Well, I think that's a good place to maybe leave it for.
I think so. For today.
For next time. For today.
So
and well, we'll chat soon.
Yeah, chat soon. Sorry, it was my early wave.
Yeah.
We'll chat very soon. Bye.
Bye. Bye.